Hello guys, and welcome to the channel. I know that you guys are preoccupied with events leading up to the October 12th presidential election, and these events, some of them are intriguing, mind-boggling, and leaving us scratching our heads and asking questions. But you know, the most intriguing of all of these things happening in Cameroon at the moment is the fact that the United Nations has partnered with ELECAM, the elections organizing body of that West African country, to organize election in a country where the ruling party, through ELECAM and the Constitutional Council, have unlawfully eliminated the principal opposition candidate who poses a serious threat to the re-election of Mr. Biya. The United Nations has also partnered with ELECAM to organize elections in a country where, ahead of a presidential election, there is an ongoing crisis in both regions that constitute the English-speaking regions. And the crisis has consumed more than 4,500 lives, displaced hundreds of thousands of Cameroonians. And recently, soldiers were slaughtered and their bodies abandoned in a pool of their own blood. ELECAM and the United Nations are watching. The United Nations is also partnering with ELECAM to organize election in a country where there are 10 regions and the secessionist leaders have already imposed a lockdown that is going to see economic activities, the lives of people put on a hold, and voting probably will be disrupted. There will be gunshots in the air on election day. How will people go out to vote? And the United Nations is there, pretending to be organizing elections with ELECAM. It is mind-boggling. It is hard to, in fact, it is beyond human comprehension. The United Nations is aware of the Anglophone crisis, and the United Nations is not bothered about solving the crisis. I remember the Secretary General, Mr. Guterres, came to Yaoundé and spent about 6 hours in the nation's capital and flew back out of the country with gifts from the head of state after sharing pleasantries with him. Now, my question is, if the United Nations came to replace the League of Nations because the League of Nations failed in maintaining peace, world peace, uniting countries, and solving problems in member countries, how come the United Nations is in Cameroon at this particular time trying to organize an election that has all kinds of election malpractices and a civil war that has consumed 2 parts of the 10 parts of the country? It's ridiculous, isn't it? And you see, the United Nations must have observed that the people of the country no longer want the man who claims to be president, Mr. Biya, but actually Ferdinand Gongo is the one managing the country. The United Nations must have understood that the people no longer want him, because they were in Bambutus, in Buddha, to name a road after Mr. Biya Paul Biya Avenue. They had to put a gigantic image of the man. And 2 days later, everything was brought down by the population. Just to tell you that the people no longer want this guy as their leader. In the Grand North, what happened? An imam, a Muslim leader in one of the mosques that you have there, was asking faithfuls to re-elect Mr. Biya. And what happened? The faithfuls walked out of the mosque, leaving him there. The people no longer want this guy. They don't want him. They don't want him. Yet, they still pretend that at 93, this guy is stable, this guy is credible, this guy is competent, and that this guy is a visionary. Whereas we know that he is the opposite of a visionary, credible, and competent leader. The United Nations, of all organizations, is partnering with ELECAM. When ELECAM has a track record of favoring the incumbent in Cameroon, when ELECAM has a track record of not respecting the constitution by not publishing the national list of registered voters, when ELECAM has a track record of manipulating results that come in from the divisions, the subdivisions, the regions, thereby handing it to their partner, the Constitutional Council, to declare Mr. Biya as winner. That is the same body that the United Nations is partnering with. And so we are asking, is the United Nations really out to see that peace reigns in countries? It is sad because ahead of the 2025 presidential election billed for October the 12th, there is a lockdown in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. And this lockdown is not only going to take a toll on the economy of the country, it will continue to see people die. Just like we saw it in the Moyuka area. Soldiers butchered, slaughtered like animals, and their bodies littered on the street in their own pool of blood. And the United Nations is there saying they are organizing an election. The United Nations should wake up and try to be credible for once. This is a fact. The United Nations cannot work with ELECAM. ELECAM is not a credible organization. And the United Nations does not encourage injustice like the type that was done to the main opposition leader, Professor Maurice Kamto. It is so sad that the United Nations is in Cameroon at this time and thinking that they are organizing a free, fair, transparent election without knowing the kind of rigging machinery that has been put in place by Mr. Biya's government since 2007. Yeah. And so I don't like October as far as Cameroon is concerned. I hate the month of October because the month of October comes with some very ugly things. The month of October is the month that the secessionists, the separatist fighters, and their leaders would declare the independence of the then southern Cameroon, now dubbed Ambazonia. They're going to declare their independence, and government is not going to sit and watch them do that. Of course, there's going to try to carry out a crackdown on these guys. And it has started, but so soon. They're going to try to crack down on these guys, and the guys are going to retaliate. The United Nations is aware of the fact that during the last presidential election in Cameroon, when in those two regions, the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, the same separatist fighters warned citizens not to go out to vote. People were buried alive, some were shot. In the end of the whole exercise, Mr. Biya was declared winner in both regions. A region that has a kind of phobia for the man, a phobia that is beyond human comprehension. Yet he wins there like 80-something%. Just to tell you that the whole election in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, like elsewhere in the country, is a complete charade. It's a shame. It's a shame. But like I will always say, time has a way of solving problems. So we are waiting. There are so many questions to be answered by time in the month of October. We pray for peace. We pray for peace. Inshallah.